Let's bring him in, my good friend Dr. Joe Congini. Dr. Joe with us from Akron Children's Hospital Sports Medicine Center. And here in the middle of a nice hot summer, Joe, what do you have for us today?
Well, that's exactly where I'm going, and I mean, it's about saving lives. I got to hear you talk with Dr. Plate about some of the things that adults can be doing, and I wanted to switch it over to the athletes. And you know, we've been talking about it's a little bit of an unusual year, and that if the athletes are practicing, high school athletes are practicing in the months of June and July, and boy, we've had some oppressive heat the last couple of days, a couple more days coming up on it sounds like next week, that are going to be very, very hot. And we had the world's expert in just before the COVID period giving the talk on saving lives from heat stroke. And there's still people that we lose with heat stroke. And it's definitely worth, because in the last 2 or 3 years, at the institute where he does nothing but study heat, there are new ways to treat heat stroke that I want to make sure that everybody's aware of again, from our trainers to our coaches to our parents being aware of that. So, you know, heat illness, there's a couple different stages: heat cramps, heat exhaustion, where athletes may have chills and nausea and vomiting, throwing up and diarrhea and things like that. But people don't usually die from heat exhaustion. And the biggest thing that is the concern is heat stroke. And heat stroke, the difference about it, Ray, is that it affects the central nervous system. And in other words, athletes start having irrational behavior, irritability, disoriented, headache, irrational behavior, emotional instability. They start acting very funny when they get up to certain temperatures. And the temperature that Dr. Casa has looked at is over 103, over 105 for sure. And for years they've been trying to get us, and a lot of sport medicine teams just resist this, is to get the rectal thermometer so you know exactly where the temperature is. Because when the temperature goes over 104, 105, the core temperature, the body stops working. The heat dissipation mechanism, getting rid of heat, the body doesn't work very good. And typically in that range, we have about 30 minutes to bring that heat down rapidly, or kids can go into significant permanent neurologic damage or death, and kids die every year. And Dr. Casa's job is to go and check each one of these where kids die and see what could have been done differently. And about 2 years ago, what we found is the most important thing is rapidly bringing the temperature down as quickly as possible. And so what really became state-of-the-art is for all these sports medicine teams, these trainers and even coaches and others, having a place for ice water immersion, a bath. And we see a lot of these tubs that are in the shade next to the stadium, next to the training room. Even people are buying larger baby pool if they have to, near the ice machine, filling it many times during the course of the day with ice water. And if somebody gets up in that range of 103, 105, is just totally dunking them, the entire body from the waist up, the neck up, of course, safely, into the ice water immersion, and that is the very best way to bring the temperature down rapidly. The old mistake that people still make, and this happens all the time, is people call 911, then they sit around and wait for the emergency vehicles to come. But even when the EMS units come, they have no way for rapid cooling in one of their units. The best is to start cooling immediately and then call 911. And so the ice water immersion in the baths or the pools with ice water, and that's become number one most important in bringing it down. Now, if you don't have that, the second option is a tool they came up with a couple of years ago called Taco, and it really is exactly what it looks like. You have 2 or 3 people from the sports medicine staff, even student trainers if you need to, that hold the tarp up and surround the athlete like a taco and just keep pouring ice water into the top of what would be the taco to bring that body temperature down. And so the taco, or the third, is in the shade, getting as many ice towels as you can and cover as much of the body, as much of the surface area as you can. But you have to change the towels rapidly, every 2 or 3 minutes, to bring the temperature down. And I was involved in one of these about 2 years ago, and it's almost amazing. Is as soon as the body temperature starts to come down, the athlete starts to become oriented again and talk to you again, and all of those neurologic symptoms that we saw go away very rapidly. And it's really an amazing life-saving event to get those kids when they're at 103, 104, 105 and bring it down very rapidly, and they very quickly recover. And the time frame, Ray, is about 30 minutes. If you miss 30 minutes and you leave a kid at 104 just sitting in the sun and not bringing that temperature down rapidly, those are those cases around the country every year, 30 or 50 cases we hear of where people die from heat stroke. And we don't want that to happen. So this is one of those life-saving lessons. It's different now, is the ice water immersion even before you call 911. And it's very important for everyone that is in your listening area that cares for athletes or young people as we get into days like yesterday where it was up in the, 94 range. Very, very warm.
And, Joe, this can come about really rapidly, like you mentioned.
It does come about very rapidly. One little, and so every day I get concerned about this. We have our trainers out in June and July, I've told you. Most years they take their vacation in this period. Many schools have no trainers around, so it's coaches that have to do this. It comes about very rapidly, so rapidly cool the skin. One of the little advantages is they don't have any equipment on right now. The risk really goes up in August as they put the heavy equipment, so get all the equipment off, get them in an ice tub, get them in a taco, and really bring that surface area of the skin, bring that the body temperature down, and you'll save lives that way. And so it does come on very rapidly, Ray, like you said.
All right, Joe. Great information again, as always, my friend. Always appreciate the time. Have a good holiday weekend. We'll catch up with you next week.
You too, Ray. Thanks. Take care. Have a great week.
You too. Dr. Joe Congini, Sports Medicine Center, Akron Children's Hospital, and he is spot on. That can really develop quickly. And again, submerge, get cooled down, get some ice, whatever it takes.